I'd like to talk a little bit about how I conduct workshops and the strategies of doing that and other strategies for doing recording sessions, and talk about the production side of doing this type of work, and things to look for in budgets and such. So what we did here during the last few episodes is we set up a session that is for a small band. We're using analog equipment, and we're generally using the digital recorder like it's a tape machine. In the old style of the mics come into the analog equipment, then through any processing which is in the racks, and then out of buses into the into the digital recorder, and then without doing any processing digitally, we're going out of the digital recorder and monitoring back through the desk. So mics to mic pre's on the console, to some EQ on the console, to some processing patched in here, into the digital recorder, which is Pro Tools here, out of the digital recorder, back into the desk, the monitor inputs on the desk. And we have it arranged so that this side of the console is basically monitoring what we're recording, and this side over here is basically microphone inputs. I like to record like this. I've recorded like this since the early 90s, and it's always worked. There's another way of working, and that is to use racks of mic pre's and have your mics go into the rack of mic pre's and then into the digital recorder, and use the onboard, the plugins to manipulate the sound, to combine the sounds and to affect the sounds like you would with all this analog gear. It's actually really a good option these days. It's very inexpensive compared to having to buy all this equipment. But if you're lucky enough to be able to get into a studio like this and be able to record on analog equipment, I would not hesitate to do that. When I work with classes of students in a studio situation like this, I want to explore different avenues of recording that other people may not show you how to do. Like because I like unconventional recording, so I'm going to be pointed more in the direction of things that you wouldn't see anywhere else, right? So like today we're setting up a drill or a blender or a saw, and we're going to have the guitar play through this electric saw. And other times I'll take cymbals and I'll prepare a recipe to dumb down the color of cymbals so they're not so bright and obnoxious. That's another way of controlling the noise, the harshness of cymbals, is to actually treat the cymbals with a solution of vinegar and potato chips and unusual things like that. So we do some of that in our workshops, and generally just try to do something different because I want people to explore ideas that they may not have thought of before, plus maybe inspire them to do something unusual on their own. I also think it's really, really, really important to use your environment as a tool to get a performance. One thing that I like to do is I like to record in different places, different spaces that you wouldn't typically work in. Like one of my favorite places to record is in an old castle in Dresden, Germany. And I'll bring, it's especially good for metal bands because, you know, being in an old castle gives them a certain vibe. You're going to get a different performance if you're recording a metal band in a castle than you are going to get from a metal band recording in an office park, you know. We did vocals on an island in a prison for the same metal band. And I'll tell you what, working in a prison gives you a completely different performance from the artist, you know, especially if it's that kind of dark music. I think it's important also to do things to the performers to make them comfortable or to make them uncomfortable. Sometimes I'll even make the singers really uncomfortable, especially if I want to get a certain type of performance out of them. If I want them to be angry, then I'm going to make it as uncomfortable as possible. I'll turn down the air conditioning so it's freezing. I'll make them go outside and run it around in the rain. And I'll just make things very uncomfortable, harsh lighting or whatever, to get that kind of harsh and more angry performance. There's a lot to be said for that environment, that wherever you're working. And sometimes you can create a scene to get a certain type of experience out of recording. Like if you have an opportunity to go on a submarine or in a boat or in a plane and do some recording, that's fantastic. I actually have a little kit that I bring around with me that has a little tiny mixer that I take with my laptop, and I will have some microphones, and I'll go into a church and I might set up and do some recording there, or in the back of a car is also a great place to do some recording. So we'll explore those types of things too.